What's up, YouTubers, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? Red Crimson Gaming here, aka Red Crimson 102. Now, guys, gals, this is a video I wanted to do a long time ago, and I've seen a lot of people with the same video online, and I'm not piggybacking off them. I was just waiting for the right time, the right moment to actually make this video. And what kind of video was that? My thoughts on the Nintendo Switch 2 so far. And like I said, there's tons of videos on what people think about the Nintendo Switch so far. And this is my take on the Nintendo Switch 2 and what I think about it so far. First and foremost, guys, I can't speak for everybody else, but I am one of the biggest Nintendo fans, man. Die-hard, hardcore Nintendo fans, man. Since I was a kid, Nintendo got me into gaming. I love Nintendo. I've been there with them through the thick and thin, man. Through the good times and through the bad times, man. The times where they had, good, powerful systems, but no games, making the bad choices of not ditching the cartridges and going with the format that actually has more storage media, like CDs, for example. And it really cost them, man, and it took them a long time to really bounce back from that. And here we are, man. Nintendo is on top, man. They've been on top for like 8 years, man, going on 9 years now. I say 8 years because the Nintendo Switch 2 came out. Excuse me, guys. The OG Nintendo Switch came out 8 years ago, and it kicked ass, man. I haven't came across Sony fans in the wild on the streets, not those fake YouTubers say, "Oh, Nintendo, Sony's better, Xbox is better, Steam Deck is better." I'm talking about real people on the streets told me, they like the Nintendo Switch more than the PlayStation 4, and this is a time where PlayStation 4 and Xbox One was a thing. And I saw why. Nintendo came with a hybrid system. They perfected it. I mean, the idea is not really new because Sony tried that with a PSP and they tried that with a Vita, where they would put some of those big games that were on the PS3 on the PS Vita, and they managed to pull it off with a few games. But Nintendo perfected it, man, with the Switch, man, combining handheld and console. And I feel as if even with the Switch, well, anyway, guys, let's not get into that. Nintendo did their thing with the Switch, and it started a whole new genre of everybody wanted to come out with a Me Too console, a Me Too Switch, which would birth the Steam Deck, Legion Go, and all these plethora of PC handhelds that's available today that wants to be a Switch and fails, especially sales wise, and cannot capture the market like the Nintendo Switch does, because Nintendo has that magic, their own IPs, their own feel. And a lot of people just don't want to see Nintendo succeed. For some strange reason, there's a fear that if Nintendo gets the same third-party games as the competition, they'll beat the competition. Because with Nintendo great IPs and with heavy third-party support, you cannot stop Nintendo, man, and that's just facts. And even when the Switch came out, I saw why it didn't get a lot of games. I mean, developers wanted to put games on there, but Nintendo hardware limitations kind of stopped them from putting the kind of games they wanted to put on there. And I always told people that the Nintendo Switch was a prototype, because Nintendo was coming from a bad console generation, man. The Wii U, it failed, it did bad, and it's like they just threw something out there and see if it would catch fire. So I always felt the Switch, OG Switch, was a prototype. How the cheap plastic it used, and the 4 directional buttons instead of a traditional D-pad. It just felt like a prototype. Like they were trying something. If it does good, okay, they can build on our concept, make it better. If not, there's no love lost because it didn't cost Nintendo a whole lot to make the Nintendo Switch. So even if they sold a couple of millions, they still would be up. They wouldn't be in the red. It's no loss to them because the system was, somewhat, what I'm saying, underpowered at the time, and it didn't really cost them much to make that system. So it wouldn't have been a big loss. But Lord behold, man, the Switch took off, man, and here we are with Switch 2. So if it wasn't for the Switch 1, there wouldn't be a Switch 2, and it wouldn't be these PC handhelds. So my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch 2 so far, guys, I really do have to start with the rumors, man. Even during the Switch, the OG Switch era, man, right before the Switch OLED came out, the Switch OLED was supposed to be the upgraded model Nintendo Switch. And some people today feel as if that the Switch 2 was actually that system they were supposed to release. That turned out to be the Switch OLED. It's funny when you look back at it though, man, because it's funny. It's funny, man. I see why people would think that, man, because Nintendo's just in a weird spot with a Switch, man. And sometimes, guys, I don't even know where to start, man. But yo, like I said, we're gonna start with the Switch Pro rumors, man. And the Switch OLED was supposed to be the Switch Pro, the more superior, the more beefed up Switch. Because in E3, and this one over a lot of people's heads, when E3 was a thing, Nintendo had a clip in E3 saying that they're coming out with a Switch Pro. It was going to have DLSS and all that good stuff. But a lot of people never mentioned that in their videos. It seems like I'm the only person that remembers that. And here we are. Fast forward to the Nintendo Switch 2. It's out now. Hasn't even been a year yet. And it's 4K. It has DLSS and all that good stuff. And that's sound. So you never know, man. The more I think about it, it feels like this is a Switch Pro, to be honest with you, man. Honestly, it does, man. But just like everybody else, man, during the Switch era, I was scouring the internet, man, just trying to find any Switch 2 rumors and news I could find, man. And they were out of control. We all already know that. And I was anticipating the Switch 2 so much. I actually think the Switch, is funny, was in a funny place at the time. Because I felt like the Switch was like overdue. It was overstaying its welcome. And I always felt like, even going into like maybe the 5th year, 6th year, I was like, okay, Nintendo, you really need to come out with a more powerful Switch or another console now. Because the Switch, it wasn't really getting stale, but like the restraints and stuff for the, with the system and the games that was coming to it and the frame rates that was dropping and stuff like that, it really didn't bother me as much for a long time because, I grew up on the Game Boy. And we all know, even till this day, handhelds would never be on par or was never on par with the consoles. Today they come really close, really, really close. But that line is still blurred. It's still, you're still not going to get that 60 FPS with every game and 90 FPS and 120 FPS on a lot of games. You know what I'm saying? So the handhelds are scarily close. It's to a point now where like you really can't differentiate the two. And it's not that much big of a difference. But I just wanted to Switch 2 so bad, and the rumors I was hearing, we had fake rumors that it wasn't going to be as powerful, and some people think it's only going to be a little bit more powerful than the OG Switch, which was ridiculous. I know that wasn't going to be true because Nintendo is not going to wait 8 years to make a slightly more powerful upgraded Switch. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That's ridiculous. And I told you guys back then, meet me in the comment section when the Switch comes out and it's going to be 4K and it's going to be powerful. And those guys are nowhere to be found. But, there's that fear, man, of people just don't want Nintendo to take over, man. Like, everybody has a favorite system, and they champion for their system, and they want the system that they play on to be the best. And it's funny how they shun Nintendo, but realistically, they want Nintendo games on their platform, because people are selfish. People want to. They want all the games to themselves, where they don't have to go out and spend extra money to buy another console. And I get it, but it doesn't work like that. It never worked like that. Back in the days, man, if you had a Sega, Super Nintendo, if you had Super Nintendo only, you miss out on some games that was only on Sega. So you had to get a Sega or go to your friend's house and play those games that wasn't on Super Nintendo. And Sega had some killer games, man. And it was vice versa at the end of the day. So it was like, but I think that's what made competition fierce. That's what made competition bring out its best, because one console would have games the other console wouldn't have. But anyway, so back to the whole Switch 2 situation, man. As we were getting closer to the date, and I heard it was 120 FPS and it was 4K and had DLSS, man. I saw that Nintendo Switch 2 direct video, man. Man, dude, I dropped some tears on that, man, because it was back to see Nintendo. It was just good to see Nintendo back on top, and Nintendo taking, the competition more seriously, and they put out a beefy system. And when you think about 4K DLSS, and we all know how powerful the DLSS architecture is, and it can upscale games to frame rates that wasn't really possible on weaker hardware. So the imagination was sky's the limit, and I seen that. I was like, whoa, Nintendo is going to be getting every single third party game now. No more 30 FPS games. And I was so excited for the Switch. And still, prior to the Nintendo Switch 2 being revealed, people were saying, oh, Nintendo, don't overdo it. Just you already have something perfect, which I agree. The Switch itself was already perfect. The only thing Nintendo could do was make it more powerful, and that's all people asked for, right? And they said, yo, just call it Switch 2. Just call it Switch 2. Don't do anything drastic to it. And Nintendo listened, and they announced the Switch 2 earlier this year in the Direct, and it pretty much looks like the OG Switch, just bigger. This is a D-Brain case, by the way, guys, if you guys are interested or curious to know what case I have on here. And I have the anti-reflect screen from JSOX. Awesome stuff, man. Throughout my whole life, I've always been using this tempered glass, and it was hard for me to play my consoles outside, especially when I'm at work, because of glare. But this anti-glare from JSOX, people, good brand, really helps a whole lot. But if you look at the Switch 2, it's no different from the OG Switch. The only difference is it's a lot bigger, right? So if it's not broken, don't fix it. And so Nintendo gave people what they wanted. They called it a Switch 2 like people wanted it to be called. They just give you more power under the hood. And what do people do? They still complained after all the ranting, and Nintendo, don't do anything crazy, don't overthink it, just make the Switch more powerful. That's all you need to do. And it did just that, and people complained. It's like Jesus could even please everybody. It's like no matter what, people are going to find something to complain about. So, it's funny when I think about it, guys, and forgive me for stuttering right there a bit, but it just makes me wonder, man, because this new Nintendo president, man, I was feeling him at one point, man, but Nintendo just going in a whole different direction. And before I get into that and explain to you what I mean by that is, let's just continue on what I was talking about, and so far what I think about the Nintendo Switch 2. So it's weird, guys. I get it. Nintendo gave people what they wanted as far as a name and more power underneath the hood, and they didn't really overthink it. They literally didn't. But some part of me felt like I'm cool with a Nintendo Switch design, but I just think they should have just went with like a whole new design, man, a whole new design. And a lot of people complain about how uncomfortable the Joy Cons were because they were flat. And I get why Nintendo did that, because I could actually fit the Nintendo Switch, the OG Nintendo Switch, in my pocket. I don't wear skinny tight jeans like the younger generation, so if you guys are wondering, I could literally fit the OG Switch in my pants pocket. And but I just think that Nintendo should have redesigned the Switch. They should have just given it a whole different look from the OG Switch. And the reason why I say that is to pretty much the perception to the eye that, yo, this is actually a new system. This is a next generation system. It looks so much different from the OG Switch. So just by making the design different with the Switch 2 would already had people sold. It's a new look, but when you see the Switch 2, it looks just like the Switch 1. You're gonna think to yourself, "Yo, it's the same old Switch. It's the Switch Pro." I just think they should have redesigned everything. They should have made it grips on the back, like you know how the Steam Deck has the grips on the back. I think Nintendo should have done that. They should have like, okay, we're gonna put grips on the back where you don't have to go out and buy accessories to make the system comfortable. Because with the Steam Deck, I must admit, I don't think the Steam Deck, I think, is overrated in a way. It's not the most comfortable console, but it's doable, it's playable. I have no issues with it, honestly. But I respect the design of the Steam Deck because they contoured, the system to your hands. Just like how this has a grip on there, the Steam Deck was like that, and I feel as if Nintendo should have made a grip just like this, built into the Joy-Cons. And the Joy-Cons, when they showed it, yeah, it was bigger. I respect that they made it bigger. It's a little bit more comfortable in the hands, and then again, in some ways it isn't. I actually feel as if the old Joy-Cons are more comfortable than the newer ones, to be honest with you. And when I'm playing the games, my thumb always hit the analog stick when I'm trying to hit the button. It gets in the way. So, and I didn't have that issue with the first Switch. And the analog sticks, man, like I felt like they should have used the same glide sticks that's on the Pro 2 controller on here, which bogs my mind, man. It's like Nintendo always take one step forward and like 3 steps backward, man. So I mean, at the end of the day, I like the system. Those are like kind of small gripes, but I just had to keep it real myself. I just think they should have redesigned the system to give it a newer look. They should have made the Joy-Cons better still. The buttons better, the face buttons, the analog stick. But I don't understand why couldn't they use the same buttons and analog sticks that's on the Pro 2 controller on the Joy-Cons? I just don't understand that. And the reason why it's just crazy, man. But so the positive, let's get into the positives. So I love the system. Despite of everything I'm telling you right now, I love the system. I'm happy with it. I'm glad I bought the system. I do think it's worth the money that they're selling it for. For the simple fact, the savior for the Switch 2 is actually the OG Switch games on there. I love how you can play your old library, your backwards compatible library on the Switch 2. And honestly, I've been enjoying my Switch games on the Switch 2, and I know that sounds weird, but not really, because if you think about it, Xbox did the same thing. And that's the only reason why I bought an Xbox Series X, is because you can play some of those old Xbox games from the OG Xbox all the way up to I'm so confused. I have so many Xboxes. You can pretty much play a lot of your old Xbox libraries on your Series X, enhanced in 4K, sometimes 60 frames per second and whatnot. That's the only reason why I bought a Series X. If it wasn't for the backwards compatibility, I would have never bought a Series X at all. But it was brilliant of Nintendo for allowing to it was brilliant of Nintendo that we can play our OG Switch games on a new Switch enhanced, and see, that was they took a step back on that too as well, because not all games are enhanced for the Switch too. Some games, yes, natively would look a little bit better and they run smoother, and some games they were a little bit enhanced. The games with unlocked frame rates, you were able to play those games that dropped heavily in frames on the OG Switch in solid 60 frames per second on a new Switch. So I like that. But for the most part, what I'm trying to say is majority of your Switch library is playable on the Switch 2, and the games look and run a lot better, a lot smoother. I respect that, because the OG Switch has a very great library, and it will go down as one of the best Nintendo consoles. It's already one of the best Nintendo consoles in my book, if not the best console Nintendo ever came out with. So, I mean, with that being said, the Switch 2 can play those OG Switch games, and I play my OG Switch games on the Switch 2. I'm enjoying it on the Switch 2. I really don't even play the new Switch 2 games. I play all my old games on the Switch 2, and I'm enjoying it. So, with that said again, guys, that's why the Switch 2 feels like this should have been the Switch that Nintendo had released back in 2000, I believe 17, when it came out. Honestly, that's what it feels like. But then you play games like Cyberpunk and the Donkey Kong Bonanza, and games like that, and you sit to yourself, okay, it's a next gen system, whatever the case may be. So I'm enjoying the system. I love it. I love playing my OG Switch games on there. Enhanced, they look and play better. As I said before, I have no regrets, man. I like it. I love it, man. Just as much as I love my OG Switch. And with a Switch 2, I feel as if I don't need my OG Switch. So let's get into the negatives. And there's a lot more negatives than positive, man. And I'm kind of worried about the future of Nintendo, man, because this is not the same Nintendo, man. I just think that Nintendo, they lost their identity. They're not the same like they used to be. And they've become lazy, sloppy with games, with content. They've been drip feeding us games. In the eShop, like, the Game Boy Classic, the SNES, the NES Classic. It's like, I don't like how they drip feed you those games. I think they did a better job with the eShop back in the Wii and the Wii U era, especially the Wii era. They just dropped all the games. They dropped everything they could at the time, and whatever other games that didn't have on the back end, they would get the licenses for those games and bring them back. But I just don't understand why they're drip feeding you all these games, man. Because a lot of the few games they have, I don't like. Like, they came out with a GameCube app, and they only had like a handful of games on there. Like, really, I don't even care about the games they have on the GameCube. GameCube has so many great games. Are you only going to release like 5 games on there? It just didn't make any sense to me, man. I just don't like how they drip feeded the games. I mean, Nintendo Classic System, the Game Boy, the GBA, the SNES, the NES had a huge library of games. But when you go into the eShop, into the Classic section, you don't see a lot of games for those systems, man. It's just crazy to me. And then there's no option to like widen the screen all the way to stretch it out, like. Emulators do a better job than that, man. Like, and I miss the days of the Wii and the Wii U where you can purchase all those classic games and have them on an SD card. So now they have like a Xbox Game Pass like service where you just stream the games and play the games, right? But you can't buy them. At least on Xbox you have the option to buy the games as well as to stream the games, but Nintendo only gives you the option to stream those games. You can't buy those games. And like, they had a perfect setup with the Wii eShop, and I don't understand why they didn't just carry that over with the Switch 2. So I just don't like how they drip feeding you those games. So I just don't even waste my time in the classic eShop at all. And then me being excited about the Switch 2, thinking, okay, we're supposed to be done with 30 FPS. I think all consoles should be done with 30 FPS by now. Every game on a base level should be 60. Hell, honestly, games should be 120 FPS. But 60 is good enough because, I mean, 60 is good for the eye, man. Like, even 120, you really can't see 120 frames like that. I mean, it just depends. Like, on PC, I notice certain games, the 120 FPS plus, you can see. You normally see a big difference with higher frame games, like with shooting games and, like, racing games and stuff like that. But with adventure games, I really don't see the difference between the 60 and 120 FPS or even 240 FPS. I really don't, because those games at the end of the day were designed just to be 60 hertz anyway. But some games you can feel the smoothness, but rarely, guys. Like, there's not big of a difference. So I'm cool with 60. And what I'm saying is, I'm actually disappointed with the fact that Switch 2 games are still 30 FPS. Like, look, Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Cool. It looks good. It looks really good. I didn't even compare to the PS5 or PS4 that already look good on those systems. Actually, I see it on the PS4, but I think but whatever, like, they look good across the board on all the systems, right? And when I seen Final Fantasy 7 Remake running on a Nintendo Switch, man, it looked really good. It looks just like the PS5 version. It really does. Like, I didn't see any difference at all, man. It looks really good. It blew my mind how good it actually looks. But it's in 30 frames, and I've seen people playing it, and they said it feels like it was in 60, and that's probably due to the Nintendo Switch 2 screen. They have the VR, the variable refresh rate. The variable refresh rate, guys, don't underestimate that. It's very, very great on the Switch 2, man. Not even gonna lie, man. And when a game is smooth, a game is smooth. Like Street Fighter 6, man, I feel like that game is even smoother online wise and gameplay wise than even the PS5 version, man. Like, Nintendo really knocked it out of the park with the online. The online is really, really good on the Switch 2, man. And the variable refresh screen is great. It's a game changer. Games feel a lot smooth. Try playing Metroid Dread on Switch 2 and you immediately feel the difference, man. That game, damn. Maybe after this video, I'm gonna go play it, man. It felt night and day with the difference between the regular Switch and even the OLED Switch versus the Switch 2. And, like, on the OLED Switch, I had no issues with it. It ran good. It looked great. But, man, I did not know it could get that much better playing on the Switch 2. And that's what I'm talking about, man. But, you have 4K. You got 12 gigs of RAM. And, you still having games running 30 FPS. I just feel like with the Switch 2, 30 FPS should have been out of the window. And even Steam Deck, on a base level, they'll run their games at least at 40 hertz. And 40 hertz, it's a weird feeling because you can feel the difference. But anything is better than 30, man. But this is 2025. I don't understand. I mean, Nintendo gave us a beefy system, and you're still doing 30 FPS. And now, they showed a direct today, and that Persona 3 Reloaded coming to it, and that's in 30 FPS. I'm like, come on, man. That game could easily run in 60 FPS. Like, why is Nintendo allowing developers to put games in 30 FPS in 2025, man? Like, what was the point? Like, I feel as if you're going to go 30 FPS, you should have just released the game on the OG Switch, man. So I just think Nintendo lost it, man, especially after watching that direct, man. It was terrible. There's only 5 games I saw that I actually liked, man. It was the Virtua Fighter game, Metroid Prime 4, of course, the Dragon Quest 1 and 2, definitely the Final Fantasy 7, and hey, I forgot to mention Mario Galaxy, man. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, that's actually dope, man. Oh, 6. The Fire Emblem game looks great, man, but That was it. Everything else was garbage, man. Like I was expecting a direct for Nintendo to show the heavy hitters, man. They had such a great list of games, man, prior to the Switch 2 release. I'm talking about Tekken 7. What happened to that? You had Titanfall 2 was on the list. What happened to that? Metaphor. What happened to that? Like, I feel as if, man, like Nintendo dropped the ball, and then with the direct they showed earlier of the Nintendo Switch 2, when Nintendo revealed it, the Switch 2 revealed, like, they didn't even show the price. I thought that was kind of sleazy of them. They was doing things non-Nintendo like, man. Like, I don't get it, man. Like, Nintendo literally, man, just they just lost it, man. They straight up dropped their nuts on your head. They just dropped their nuts, like literally, like, yo, this is what it is, and you're gonna like it. And fans went out and got it, man, because everybody been waiting, man, for the Switch 2, man. All the hype, man, and we know if they make a Switch 2, it's gonna be more powerful, man, and it is, man. And you have games like Star Wars Outlaws, a game that everybody said was trash. Even reviewers said it was trash. Everybody was saying it was trash. And I remember seeing that game early for like $30. I'm like, wow, $30. That game just came out. I was like, $30. I'll try it. So I always thought it looked good. One thing about Star Wars games, they always knock it out of the park, you know, production wise and graphic wise, man. They put so much into Star Wars games, man, because the Jedi, I keep forgetting the Jedi. Not Jedi Survivor, the one before Jedi Survivor, man. Jedi Fallen or whatever. That game was really good. I actually liked it. Never got a chance to play Jedi Survivor. But point is, man, like, it looks good on Switch, but it's 30 FPS. I mean, granted, it's a lock 30, which makes a big difference, man, but it's still 30 though, man. Like, I mean, why couldn't it be 40? And on top of that, man, DLSS, man, you know, NVIDIA been showing off DLSS, and they've been just putting it in our face, man, shoved it into our face. That they show demonstration after demonstration of a game that's running in 30 FPS. All of a sudden, it's running in 60 FPS and 120 FPS and 480p, 720p into 4K. I mean, that's a crazy technology when you look at it in hindsight. But then in reality, when I look at the Switch 2, I'm like, okay, you got the 4K handheld capable of 120 FPS. You got one of the most technically advanced games at the time that even consoles couldn't run, and PCs was having some issues. Cyberpunk running on the Switch 2, and that showed how powerful that system is. But it's not in 60 FPS. It's in 30. At least CD Projekt Red, they pushed it to 40 hertz. There was a 40 hertz mode in there. I guess that's a performance mode. I mean, I respect that. And with the Switch's VRR screen, man, that game looks like butter, man. Like, it looks and runs smooth. I have that game, and I still haven't even played the damn game yet, man. That's freaking crazy. And I was never a Cyberpunk fan anyway, but you know, I support the cause. I love CD Projekt Red, and I respect them for putting that game on a cartridge to show these developers that they need to put these games on a cartridge. So that's why I bought it. But I mean, DLSS, man, what happened to Cyberpunk? Should be running in 60 frames per second at the least on the Switch 2 due to DLSS. That game should easily be 4K with DLSS. So, I mean, is it a marketing ploy or what, man? Like, I'm just thinking that DLSS is a marketing ploy, man. It helps. It does make the game look a little better and all that, because I have it on my computer, but you can still, I don't know, man. It's not a 1-to-1 4K ratio comparison, but it looks good. But all this thing, HDR, that's been marketing, and I started to think that DLSS is marketing as well, man, because there's no way, man, you can't get Star Wars to be 60 FPS. And I believe with the power of the Switch, if they had built that game from the ground up with the Switch's weakness and strengths in mind, that game could easily run at 60 FPS, probably even 120 FPS, to be honest with you. I know you guys might jump on me in the comment section, but if you make a game, if you tailor make a game around the strength and weaknesses, you can push that game to the limits. But the problem is with Switch, a lot of companies just throw the ports, a straight x86 port, PC port, straight to the Switch, and that's why it has issues. But if developers would just, Nintendo needs to get developers to actually just start whatever game they're going to make for the Nintendo Switch is to build it from the ground up. So that game could be 60 FPS, 90 FPS, 120 FPS with 4K graphics. It can be done. It can be done if they design the games around the Switch system in mind from the ground up. I believe that's what they should be doing because the Switch is not really PC x86 architecture. It is its own thing. So they should be making every game from the ground up with its Switch's strength and weaknesses in mind, in my opinion, really. In my educated opinion, really. So, and that's another thing I hate, man. Like, they're not taking advantage of the Switch. They're still rushing these games. Nintendo's allowing developers just to do whatever they want to do. I mean, show us the power of DLSS. I mean, there should be no 30 FPS games on Switch. There's so many games on Switch too that has no business being 30 FPS. Like, I know could run in 60 FPS. So that's another thing I hate, man. It's like it's the same thing all over again. The same shenanigans they carried on with the OG Switch, the same shenanigans they brought to the Switch too. Undercooked games, 30 FPS games that shouldn't be 30 FPS, and Nintendo they lost it, man. They had an hour direct today, and they had everybody thinking, the whole world thinking that they were going to show these heavy hitters. I expected this direct to show nothing but hardcore third-party games, man. All the games that Switch missed was supposed to be there. They were supposed to show Elden Ring. They were supposed to show pretty much, Metaphor. The list goes on. They should have showed nothing but high-caliber third-party games, not no kiddie nonsense, and they did not deliver whatsoever. They gave us several dud Nintendo Directs in a row. I do not look forward to Nintendo Directs at all. And even though they mentioned this Direct on Friday, something told me, man, it was going to be bullshit, and it certainly was. I was very disappointed, man. Nintendo is just not the same anymore. Like, they don't care right now. I don't know what's going on with them. It's not the same. And Nintendo is not the same when they came up with a bullshit ass game key cards. Like, really, Nintendo? Like, yo, you guys are big on physical media, man. And people are forgetting that the strength of Nintendo was basically the physical media. Do you know how many people double dipped and triple dipped buying the same games several times just because they know it's on a cartridge and it's going to be secured, for a lifetime, as long as you live on Earth, man. Like, yo, like, you see all these games on the shelf and in the background, right? My daughter is 8 years old. I can go on the shelf right now and I can play a game with her, and I'll be like, yo, daughter, this is the game that I used to play when I was a teenager, or this is a game I was playing like 10 years ago before you were born. Once games get delisted, man, it's gone, man. It's gone. You get what I'm saying? I'm old school, man. Like, and it has nothing to do with old school. It's just the fact that I know better. If you want to say I'm old, that's cool, because guess what? As an OG, I know better. I know what it was like to actually get up, get excited for a game, go to that store, those midnight launches, man, for a system and a game, and you meeting all these cool people that share the same interest as you. You sitting in your house with your friends on the same couch, yet your TVs put side by side, the big bowl of chips or whatever snacks it is that you like, laughing, playing, having fun in the same room. When I'm winning or if I'm losing, if my friend is winning or if he's losing, I can see the expression on his face. I can see that me winning is getting to him, and vice versa. We passing the controller around, man. Like, those were good times, man. Like, when I look at Xbox, and that's like a lonely man console. They force you to put a headset on and talk to somebody you don't even know. You don't see the person. And a lot of times you could be talking to a pedophile, a rapist, killer, anybody. You talk to you could be talking to the scum of the universe and don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? Wolves in sheep clothing. I mean, at the time, back in 2005, that was cool with Xbox 360 because that really wasn't done before on that level. And people just used to go on Xbox Live just to chill and meet new people. And the Xbox Live on 360 was much, much better than the Xbox Live we have now. It's quiet now. Back then it was not quiet. Every time you went on there was always somebody on there. But I understand why they filtered it out, because you had a lot of racist people, a lot of rude people. And I get all that. But what I loved about Nintendo is like their nostalgia, man. They know what gaming, the essence, the core essence of what gaming is supposed to be, man, the togetherness. And I respect the Nintendo Switch commercial. It was great marketing, because when you saw the Nintendo Switch commercials, you always see the family chilling, and they would call their family members over, and everybody just sit around and they play the games, man. Like, that's how it's supposed to be. That's more fun than you talk to some stranger online that you don't know and that you don't see. It's not the same. And that's not called socializing. Socializing is when you're amongst a whole bunch of people and you're interacting with people. But with the Xbox, you're not interacting with anybody. You're just online talking to somebody you don't know. It's PlayStation the same way, but I give PlayStation a pass because PlayStation, they're awesome, they're great. They came up during the Nintendo era as well. Nintendo, they learned a lot from Nintendo. They worked together at one point. So Sony got a lot of their ideas, and a lot of they learned their dirty tactics from Nintendo, the exclusivity. And that's what kept Sony up for a while. And that's another thing too, like Nintendo's the only company right now pretty much that has exclusive games, and that's what kept them above everybody else. Now, only time will tell if they eventually would give in, but they really don't need to, because they're doing great, man. And Nintendo knows exclusive does matters, so that's why they're staying on top, and that's why they're keeping their IPs close to their chest, as they should. If you look at Sony's been losing now, man. They started following Xbox footsteps, sharing their games, and they're losing their value. That's why the PS5 is not even selling like that. I don't give a damn about the PS6 or the next Xbox. I'm not buying those systems, man. And I said in my last video, man, that the Switch 2 is going to be my last system, man. I mean, I'll always support Nintendo, man, but I'm just getting older, man. I'm getting to the point where I really don't care anymore, because I see the direction Nintendo's going in as well, man. Physical media is what made them, and they're shunning physical media right now, man. Game key cards shouldn't even be in the equation whatsoever. And Nintendo, they dropped the ball so bad, man, on so many fronts, man. Not redesigning the Nintendo Switch 2 to make it seem like a brand new system. And I'm not complaining about it. I'm still cool with what I got. I'm just saying, just my thoughts, guys. Just my opinion. Is not really a big deal, but I always would have that in the back of my mind. And then, instead of 16 gigs of RAM, which is the baseline, even for the older consoles, they opt for 12 gigs of RAM. I'm like, yo, why? And that's what, and then on top of that, because they went with 12 gigs of RAM, even the presentation of the Nintendo Switch 2, like when you had a different screen, the four screens open up, it got choppy and there's a lot of slowdown, because that eats up a lot of RAM. So if they had the extra 4 RAMs, it would have been running smooth. See, it's like they're always cutting the corners. So for them to even have 12 gigs of RAM in the Switch 2, it shouldn't even have cost $500. Honestly, it shouldn't have. It should have been $400 for real, just because of that. If they had the 16 gigs of RAM in there, I'd have been like, okay, 16 gigs of RAM, cool. But I mean, I don't understand Nintendo, man. They always dropping the ball somewhere, man. 12 gigs of RAM, and then the T239, yeah, it's sufficient for what it can do. And I know they coupled that with the features from the 30 series cards, And damn, I don't even know how that worked, but they made it work. And but the T239 is equivalent to an RTX 2050. When I first got my computer, man, like several years ago, the highest card was a 2080 Super, and I opted for a 2060 Super, right? And we're all the way to the 50, 30, 90, 50, 30, 50, 69, 50, 90 cars or 50, 60 cars. Correct me. Feel free to correct me in the comment section. But we're in the 5,000 series cars now, right? And if I was in 10, I'd have been like, okay, for $500, you know what we should do? At least at the bare minimum, they should at least went with like a 2080 Super, like a chip that was around a 2080 Super. You know what I'm saying? And even a 2060. Because I have an RTX 2060 Super, and that graphic card still kick ass. But my CPU is up there as well, so that helps. But I got my RTX 2060 Super, man. I'm still playing games at 4K 165 with all the bells and whistles turned up, everything on high. And that's a 2060 Super, man. But I just think they should at least went with like a 2080, an equivalent graphics card, 2080. Or even a 30 series, man, like, because those cars are pretty old now. But but come on, man, like, for the price, man, really, like, when I think about it, it shouldn't even have been 500, man. It should have been 400. But I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, guys, I'm happy with it. I'm cool. I'm just saying, it's like Nintendo. They've been doing a lot of scummy things lately, and for a company that thrives off its own exclusives, they treat their own exclusives like crap. Listen, this direct that passed, I expected Nintendo to come out swinging with a new Star Fox. They should have, with the launch. Matter of fact, with the launch of the Switch, with the launch of the Switch 2, they should have had a Star Fox game ready to go, a brand new Star Fox game. They should have a Punch Out game right behind the Star Fox game. Star Fox. They should have an Earthbound game. They should have been brought back Eternal Darkness. I mean, Metroid Prime 4 actually should have been the launch title, the flagship title for the Switch 2. And that game has been finished a long time ago. Nintendo was just sitting on it. Like, they dropped the ball so much, man. Like, it's not even funny, man. Because if I was making a Switch 2, if I was Nintendo in Nintendo's corner, we say, look, we're going to throw, okay, at the minimum, a 2080 Super chip in there, or at least a 30 series equivalent chip in there, right? And just launch with a whole bunch of the dormant IPs that they haven't brought out in a long time ago, man. You see what I'm saying? But okay, and let's take it back a little bit. Since they're using the T239 chip, which is equivalent once again to the 2050 series card, right? Which is an old card. That's even older than the card in my PC. Okay, we're gonna sell the system for $400. Redesign the system. It's not going to look anything like the OG Switch. I wanted to make it like a brand new system. I would have launched Metroid Prime 4 as a flagship title, and I would have launched a Mario Kart game alongside that. Right? And some people say, "Oh no, they shouldn't do that because Mario Kart is going to overshadow." No, it's not, because in all actuality, logic says you're going to get both titles, because Mario Kart is really an overrated game. Mario Kart World, don't get me wrong, it's a fun game, it's cool, but it was actually disappointing at the same time. First of all, it didn't even have like a little campaign in there. For that price, I would have had a campaign, a storyline in that game, a story mode, and actually make it a true open world racing game. There's so much they could have done with Mario Kart that they didn't do. They dropped the ball on that game, honestly. To be real with you, that game shouldn't have been $80. I mean, was it $80? It shouldn't have been $80. Nintendo should have kept the games at 60. 70 I can see, but 60. Select games 70, but majority of the games should have been 60. And we didn't get a Star Fox, we didn't get a Punch Out, we didn't get a Star Tropics, we didn't get that shooting game they made on GameCube called Geist. We didn't get a Zelda Ocarina of Time remake yet. Even fans remade that game. What happened to Kid Icarus? They could have redid it. They could have made a brand new 2D side scroller Kid Icarus game. I mean, what's going on, Nintendo? Like, they dropped the ball, man. If I was Nintendo, I'd have just dropped all those games, man, at launch. They don't have to spread those games out. Those games would have kept people busy for a long time. And right behind that, they could have dropped all those third-party games we expected to play, or we were, yeah, excuse me, guys. They should drop those third-party games we were expecting to play. That should have been on the Switch. That wasn't on the Switch. So I just don't understand. They dropped the ball on the launch lineup. Sure, I mean, I would say the Switch 2 launch lineup was better than the Switch lineup. Honestly, it was. Even the DS, and we can go as far back. Yeah, we can go back far back as the DS. But still, they could have done so much better. The thing that kills me is Nintendo had 8 years to figure this whole thing out. They had 8 years. They had 8 years to figure out the Switch 2. The Switch 2 eShop should have music. The game should have been categorized. The indie games, those little $2 games, and they should have been categorized and everything, man. And then there's no messaging, no chat messages. That's kind of crazy to me, man. Like, and game invite, I don't even know how that works, man. I don't know, but they really dropped the ball after watching that direct today, guys. They really dropped the ball, man. And they have so many dormant IPs that they can put out, man, but they don't, man. And what the hell is Drag and Drive? Come on, man. Like, I want to see Nintendo take the Pokemon franchise. Matter of fact, this is always what I wanted Nintendo to do. With the new system, redo their whole games. All the first party IPs shouldn't look cartoon anymore. Just for like the first year. The first initial launch titles. I would like to see a Pokemon that looks just like Monster Hunter. A Punch Out game that looks realistic. Kinda like that, what's that game called? I don't know, like Knockout Kings. Mario Brothers. Like, give us a real Mario Brothers where they look like actual real people. That would have been dope. Bring back that gritty Star Fox, that dark look from the N64. Like, instead of making it look animated, just make it look real. Like, if Nintendo would take all their franchises and make it like realistic, that would have been next level, man. Like Kid Icarus. Instead of calling it Kid Icarus, call it Icarus when he's growing up and he doesn't look like a kid anymore, like a little cartoon kid. He just look like a real, like, I don't know, like a dark angel or something. That would have been so tight, man. Like, I mean, give Pokemon a realistic look, man. I mean, that would have been so awesome, man. But there's so many things Nintendo could do, but they just got lazy, man. And I'm scared to see where they're going to take Zelda. I love Tears of the Kingdom. I know that game got a lot of flack. Of course, I knew Tears of the Kingdom wasn't going to sell as much as Breath of the Wild, but Breath of the Wild had like 7-8 years to sell a lot of copies. Tears of the Kingdom was very successful because it sold like, 20-something million, 21-something million in like the first, I don't know, month or some craziness like that. So that game is still a success. I actually think it's a better game than Breath of the Wild in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to get into that. But they also dropped the ball on Tears of the Kingdom as well. But it's just so many. So, and I say that to say this. I don't know where they're going to take the next Zelda, man. Because Tears of the Kingdom was very repetitive. That's the only thing I didn't like about it. And Breath of the Wild was not repetitive at all. There was no shrine, no quest that was the same. So I wonder if we're going to be lazy with the next Zelda game. But Nintendo do have time and years to clean their act up. But I mean, I love the Switch and everything, man. But I just don't know right now, man. Because there's games on there that's 30 FPS that shouldn't be 30 FPS. I thought we were done with that. So I don't know. Hopefully, man, they pick the slack up and Another thing I want to mention too is a cartridge situation. They had 8 years to figure this out, man. And honestly, I think they should have dropped the cartridges and do like a little mini disc like Sony did with the PSP. Have these little mini Blu-ray discs that could hold at least still 100 gigs, 50 gigs, or whatever. Even the 64 gigs, they still would have been good because those discs would have been cheap. You can make multiple discs if the game can't fit. They should have went with a little mini disc route like they did with the GameCube, but just more gigs on there. They dropped the ball so bad. And if you're gonna go with cartridges, which we know are more expensive, with all the money that they made off of Switch and the movies, they should have at least made some kind of deal or take the hit on the cartridges. So, yo, listen, man, for the first couple of years, we're going to take a hit on the cartridge. We're not going to sell these cartridges to our partners to $16 a pop. We're just going to give it to them for like, I don't know, even $6, man. That's a couple of dollars. And I wouldn't mind if they gave the cartridges to the developers for dirt cheap and just charged the extra $10. I would have been cool with that because now I'm knowing that all my games are going to be fully on cartridges. And down the line, the cartridges are going to get cheaper. And then we may need, 120, you're going to double up on that 64 gig card, right? You're going to, 24 gigs or 128 gig cartridges. And, because the games are going to get bigger. But a lot of time, man, it's all about compression. And these lazy devs aren't going to compress their games, man. But I like the sound on the Nintendo Switch. It's a big improvement over the OG Switch. It's loud and the headphones sound real good and everything. So I respect that. It's not the best I've heard on a handheld, but it's a big improvement. I'm cool with it. And what I like to see Nintendo do, man, come out with an OLED Switch. Give us a bigger battery. Like an 80-watt battery where the games at least last us like 3.5 hours. Improve upon the sound once more, make it even better. And maybe even, I don't know, man. Like they can start by making the cartridges a lot cheaper for developers, man. I think they should do away with those game key cards and take a loss on those cartridges, man, and sell us the cartridges. Not us, not us as me, but sell the developers the cartridges for cheap, man. Get them a deal with like, okay, you know what? It's $6 for the cartridge, $5 for the cartridge. We'll take the hit on there. We'll just make up the one on the back end, with the online or $10 a pop. We put an extra $10 on the cartridge, and I'm cool with that, man. Or just make those Blu-ray mini discs like the GameCube size, just with 64 gigs, and still have the cartridge slot for the OG Switch games and the Switch 2 games. But the Switch 2 games are already out there, so they can do it. They can really clean their act up, man. And come on, Nintendo, we gotta stop with these kiddie games, man. Give us games like Metaphor, 60 FPS, Titanfall 2, every game that's on the PlayStation, Xbox, man. I want to see on the Switch. What happened to Gears of War? Gears of War came out on PC and on PlayStation 5 and it's on the Switch 2. I don't get it, man. Like, where's the games? I really don't get it, man. So, I don't know, man. Nintendo really dropped the ball, man. Xbox is already out the game. Sony is like right behind them, and Nintendo they going up the same path, man. The only thing that's holding Nintendo together is those IPs, man. And for a company that thrives off its IPs, man, like what? Come on, man. Where's the new Kid Icarus? Like, give it a chance to shine. I remember when Fire Emblem was on the back end for a while, and they came out with a Fire Emblem game and sold, and it's like, oh, it's selling. Let's keep on making more Fire Emblems. Now they're making as many Fire Emblem games as they are Mario games. But what if you gave Star Fox a chance? What if you gave Eternal Darkness a chance? Punch Out a chance? Earthbound a chance? Then you can continue to make those games as well. And also, too, I'm going to close out by saying this, guys. Nintendo needs to make new IPs. They need a simulation racing game. Mario Kart don't count. That's crap. They need a simulation racing game like Forza. They need their own sports Well, they can skip sports. I don't buy a system to play sports games. I can go outside and play sports. They need to have their own shooting game, like Call of Duty. I mean, it doesn't have to be Call of Duty, but they need to have their own first-person titles. They need to have games like Uncharted, God of War. Like, not saying copying them, but just start thinking outside the box. Like, kind of cater more towards, like, the adults now. So, you know what, man? Let's just we want an Uncharted like game. We want a Call of Duty type game, a first person shooter type game. Like they need to make more IPs and stop depending on Mario all the time and Pokemon. Let's think outside the box. Give the Pokemon team. Let them put them on a different game. Just go to the Pokemon team. Say, hey, give Pokemon a break. Just take a crack at another game. Go to the Mario Kart team. Hey, take a crack at a realistic racing game. Something like that. They need more IPs, man. Because if you look back at the old Nintendo, man, they had so many cool games on there, man. So many dormant IPs Nintendo have. And they haven't really made any new IPs like that, man. They really haven't. But I know this video went on for a long time, guys. I'm not really good at talking like that, man. But I try to get my point across as much as I can. But at the end of the day, hey, I love the Switch. I think the Switch is the best system. I think it's the best handheld. Easy to pick up and play. The sales don't lie. It's the best selling handheld, the fastest selling handheld. But I feel like Nintendo needs to be humble again, man. And I hate to see it happen because sometimes you might not come back from that. I think Nintendo is on their high horse right now. They know the Switch is killing it. And they just drop their nuts. Like, man, fuck it. We can do whatever we want to do. We ain't even gotta do nothing. We can make shitty Nintendo Directs. They still gonna line up and watch it. They're still gonna tune in. We can make the same Pokemon games with shitty graphics. They still gonna buy it. So it's kind of like they need to be humble, man. I always told people, even the Switch era, Nintendo they need to revamp, man. They need to switch it up. I would just love to see Nintendo come out with a system where they turn all their IPs into this realistic graphics this time around. Imagine having a realistic Mario and Luigi. That would be so dope, man. A grown-up Icarus. A Pokemon that looks like Monster Hunter, man. Realistic graphics. Like Hollywood type graphics. There's so much potential that's there, man. Nintendo's just not the same anymore, man, and it's just kind of sad. And I'm getting freaking old, guys. Even care, man. Like, I got better shit to do in my life, to be honest with you, man. And that's coming from one of the most hardcore gamers, man. I just keep it real. Honestly, I do. But I'm at a point where I don't give a fuck, man. You see all those games I have on my shelf? You guys can't even see all them games I got on my shelf. That's nothing, man. One day I'll show you guys, man, but even my collecting days, man, that's over with, man. But I do like collecting for the Switch, though, and I've been collecting for the Switch for a long time. I have a list, almost 100 games, getting up there that I still need to get for the Switch, and that's a lot of money. I spent a lot of money on the Switch. The Switch is just a fun system to collect for, knowing that all your games are on a cartridge. You will have them for years. You can show your kids, man. That is awesome, man. And it hurts me, man, that Nintendo's going down the route with a Switch 2, man. Like, it's like almost, you might as well just go with digital with the Switch 2 because they're not even putting the games on cartridges, man. But the games that they do put on cartridges, I go out and buy. I bought Titan Scion just because it was on cartridge. I was a big fan of the first game, played a demo. It's a really good game, man. But yo, listen, guys. Part of the reason why the Switch actually did good is because my phone was dying on me. Um, Part of the reason why the Switch was very successful is because it was on a cartridge, man. People just went out and bought the Switch and games for it because they were on a cartridge. Because it's just the thought of the Switch 2 being way more powerful than the first Switch, and it'll be able to get the same games PC, PS5, and the Xbox Series X has. Not only that, they'll be fully on cartridge. But being that most of those games won't be on cartridge, they're on game key card, and you have to digitally download your games, it kind of defeats the purpose of getting the Switch 2. So I wouldn't even be surprised if the Switch 2 started falling off a cliff a couple of years from now. Just for that simple fact. Because if the games aren't fully on cartridges and I still have to digitally download those games, I might as well just play my PC handhelds because Steam has more games than the Switch. And a lot of those games run better. Like a lot of those games are in 60 frames per second. So it's like you might as well kind of just get you a PC handheld and call it a day over the Switch too. So Nintendo really needs to put their foot down, man. But I don't know, man. And then 12 gigs of RAM, like really? Not even 16, which is like the bare minimum, the standard. And I hate repeating myself, guys, man. But I'll just close out by saying this. Um, with the revised Switch 2, I'm pretty sure there's an OLED Switch coming down the pipeline somewhere. Whatever Switch 2 revision they decide to make, I expect to see like man a big as balls battery in there, 80-watt battery or something like the ROG Ally X. I got a ROG Ally X in the background. Um, we should be talking about 24 gigs of RAM, honestly. I would actually leave that T239 chip behind, really. I mean, they probably could keep the chip in there, the same GPU, but give it more RAM. um, you find a way to make those cartridges cheaper, man, and shove it down developers' throats. And yo, you guys got to put this game. You got to put the games on the cartridges. No more game key cards. We're done with that. Nobody likes those game key cards. All right, guys. I want to appreciate you guys and gals for um hanging out with me this long. It's like an hour and 8 minutes, man. This video is so long, I might have to just upload it in 1080p. I want to thank you all for just hanging out with me this long and hearing me rant, hearing me talk, and hearing my thoughts about the Switch 2. And what I think about it so far. New to my channel, like and subscribe.